Welcome back to my art room. Today we're going to play with shadows and light, just some basic ones. We're not going to get too crazy. We're going to do it with watercolor because I have so much here and I need to get rid of it because it's driving me crazy at this point. First things first, this is an Easter egg color thingy-mabobber. We're going to use this as our trace so we don't have to freehand ovals because that's not fun. We give ourselves a table, a horizon line, if you will. Just use a piece of this chipboard. This is a watercolor pencil. So I'm not overly concerned about it. Maybe one on its side. Oh no, not you again. Love Buck. Are you supposed to be in my art room? Buddy? He's ignoring me like I don't exist. Spray my overly saturated palette. There's so much red and black on here, so that's what we're going to use. So we're going to call these Easter eggs. We're not going to worry about the color because the color is not going to be the point. We'll do some wet on wet because it's fun. Solar Bug, I swear, if you jump on my table again, buddy, we're gonna have some problems. Outline our circle with water as we talk to our bad little orange kitten. And we're gonna grab some of this red. Take our paint up to the edge of our pencil line. When I'm doing something that's a round shape and I'm dropping the color in, I will put more color where I know that I'm going to have my shadows. And more water where I know I'm going to have my light. With watercolor, you need to think about that in advance, since it's not like acrylic or oil, you can't just layer stuff on. So we're going to have our light coming from over here where my water is. That's going to be our light source. So I left some almost white up here in the upper right corner extra red down here on the lower side, the lower left side. I can do words today. And again, this is just going to be some basic shadows and highlights. Don't want to get too tricky on you. We only just met, so we'll save it. We'll save my nonsense for another time. Just make this so it's like an oval shape. Okay, we'll let that one dry. That looks pretty good. And we'll do this one on its side. Again, fill it up with water because wet on wet is fun. The hardest thing about watercolor is you have to give up your idea of control because it's going to do what it wants. And you just have to be okay with it. And that can be hard. You could influence it. You can try to influence it. You could try to correct it. You can layer it. But it is going to do its own thing. Okay, again, our light is here. So we're going to put most of our color in this left side and bottom. And we'll use whatever this color turns out to be. It's another reason why I gotta get rid of the colors on this palette. It's collecting fuzz at this point, and that is just not okay. Who wants to pick fuzz off of their paper? Okay. Push the color around. And following our egg oval shape, brush strokes matter. If you painted this horizontally and your color was going whoosh, 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 it's going to make your shading completely off for a round object. So use the shape of the object as you go around with your color. Okay, that looks pretty good. We'll let that dry, see what that does. Again, with watercolor, look at that. Half the job is already done for us. Hooray. Depending on what I'm doing, when I get to this shadow step, I will usually get a smaller brush, but since I made these really large, so that way you can see it, I think this brush will be okay. We're going to use some really dark, whatever this is. It's like a blue, purple, black, green mess. And since we're just talking about shadows and how they work, I really don't care so much about the color. I say that and now I hesitate. Maybe I do. Dilute it a bit. We're going to kind of reinforce that we want this to be our darker bit. Now I'm putting more water on something that was already dry. and that can change your watermarks. So what I typically do is I will either A, dry off my brush, so that way it's just a little bit damp, and rough out these edges or buff out these edges with the side of my brush. And you can see it will move the paint around a little bit. Or if I don't want my paint to go anywhere, I will dab it with my finger. But I'm just basically trying to pick up that extra water. So I don't have too many hard edges. And that's a me thing. Why can't I have hard edges? I don't know. Hurts my brain a little bit. And again, that's just watercolor. Gotta let it do its thing. And to be fair, sometimes I like the hard edges and sometimes I don't. Okay. Now this one is still wet. We're gonna have to cue that Jeopardy song again. Do 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 do. Now we're going to add some shadows to our second egg. It's still a bit wet, so I have to watch it. If my brush is too wet and the paper's too wet, I'm going to end up picking up color instead of putting down color, and then that will make me sad. How do you know this, Cassandra? Because I've made a lot of mistakes in my space, and that is how we learn. Kind of buff out that edge with my finger so it's not a hard line. Okay, that looks pretty good. All right, now we'll make some shadows on the paper for funsies. Like I said, lots of black and red on here, so let's get rid of it as best as we can. I'm not going to go all the way up to the edge of my egg since it's wet because it will bleed into my shadow, and that will make me fussy. We'll fix that in a smidge. Look at that random blue I picked up. Now your shadow is going to be dependent on your light. Take it up close to the edge, but not quite there because I don't want it to bleed. So I'm doing my shadow a little bit forward, close to me, like the light is almost, it's to this corner, but in front of the egg. So that way the shadows are my way. That way you can see it. Shadows like to do all kinds of things. A great way to play with shadows is to get an egg out of your refrigerator if you're painting eggs, or even if you're painting something else. Take a flashlight, shine it on the eggs, and take pictures from different camera angles to see how the light and the shadows look different on the object, and then save it to your phone, and then use your phone as a reference as you're painting. I have a lot of reference photos on my phone. Someday I'll clean them up. I'm so funny. Again, going up to the edge, but not all the way there, because I don't want the color to bleed. If both things are dry, or I should say when both my shadow and my egg is dry, then I'll make them touch. Okay, so we have a long shadow and a short shadow for my two eggs. This is a lovely mix of color in here, and you'll see it when I do a close-up. I see some purple, some blue, some green. There's also all kinds of fun colors in that shadow. And man, this egg is still wet. How much water did I use? Good Lord. This is where I have to have patience, which is not my strong suit. You can A, get a blow dryer, B, walk away and go do something else and come back, or C, I could drop some more dark in. So I'll put some more on here. And that really wasn't C. C is you could use your paper towel and dab it, dry it off a bit, and then put more color. Again, patience is not my middle name. Okay. Well, that's thinking about its life choices. We're gonna add some highlights with a small brush. Since this is watercolor, you can do two things. You can do three things. You can leave the light in the paint as you go because you knew ahead of time where your light source was. You can grab some gouache. This one is a pearl white rose, so it's a off-white color. I also have some white gouache. You can grab some acrylic and put some acrylic on here, or you can erase it. I really like the white marks that were left while the paint was drying, so I don't want to erase it. But if you want to, get your brush wet and just boop, 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 and you can pick up some of that color to make it lighter. But since we're just playing around here with these two eggs and we're just talking about the idea of shadow and light, grab some gouache because I can. Needed to be mixed around in the tube. I guess I haven't picked up this color in a hot minute. And you want to follow your egg shape. I think I'm being way too precious about it. You guys can't see. Okay, hold on. I really like this pearlescent off-white color, but I'll grab my white so that way you can see it. Just gonna do some lines with this. Maybe a 1/4 inch in from the side of my egg. And let's do some little dots too. Bloop, bloop. And since you can't see the beautifulness of the off-white, let me grab the white, which is why I grabbed white as well. You can also use bleed-proof white, which I have, but I don't have it on my desk at the moment. I start with a light hand, so it's just like the teeny tip of the brush is on the paper, especially if you're trying to do something like a line. If your line gets wonky, and then you're gonna be like, oh my God, I hate it. If you go super light and just use the tip of your brush, so it's more like sketching, you won't hate it so much. If you're like me, anyways, we're all different. We all have different ways of thinking about things, so I can't say everybody's like me, which is just weird. Beautiful. And you could do as much or as little as your heart desires. I'm gonna add some more because I can. Add some over like an inch and a half in, because eggs are eggs. I know, that was a really good explanation there. So sorry. I can't really think and talk sometimes. Depends on how hard I'm concentrating. Since eggs are round, like a ball, they're not just round on the outside, but they're round in the middle as well. So I came in and did some lines in the middle, showing that it's kind of round throughout. But again, I also painted my egg in that round shape, so that way you can have the illusion of the roundness just by the base color that we put down. And then we use the shadow to accentuate and highlight to accentuate, and it should look like a super round shape. And then we added some shadows at the bottom for funsies. Like this is on a table. Now that it's more dry, I will take the shadow to the edge, and I usually use a smaller brush. We will see how this goes. This is gonna be really light on the water and pretty dark on the color, because where the egg meets the table, like right here, it's gonna be the darkest edge. I also notice that I hold my breath when I paint sometimes. So we don't want a hard edge here, so I'm just gonna blend my gray out. Kind of buff it with the side of my finger, pushing it back towards the egg. When you're pulling color away like this, you're pushing the color into the middle of your shadow, so I want to push it back closer to the egg. And again, this is watercolor rules, not necessarily other paint rules. That's an interesting color. I don't know if I like it. Can you see it? Not quite yet. It's a little bit on the yellow side. We're gonna let that sit for a minute and do this one. Again, trying to follow your shape. This isn't a flat shape, it's a round shape, so shadow should be following the round texture. I guess that's not the right word. Push my color back in. I always paint with my fingers. I'm still 5 on the inside, so I usually have paint on my hands. I'm gonna redo this one because I don't particularly like the yellow tinted. Again, trying to follow the round shape. This one looks a little more jagged. And that's all on me. Okay. I think that's good. I think we're pretty solid. Take the tape off. And I can save it because I really didn't get it all dirty. Again, tape is life. Well, that's it. Watercolor eggs. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy.